Peace, blessings, love, light. Welcome to episode 5 of the Cosmic Medicine Journey. It's appearing a bit later than I intended, so I apologize. These shows are intended to be released at the beginning of each zodiac month, which I'm identifying as roughly around the 21st of each month, except when we have one of the quadrants, either the equinoxes or the solstices. So I would be releasing the episode for that zodiac season a couple of days earlier, roughly around the 18th or 19th of the month, as I'll be doing for June, which is coming up, and then releasing the actual quadrant, which is the solstice coming up, the summer solstice, a few days after that, so around the 22nd, 23rd. So part of the reason for the delay is I really wanted to interview my friend and the inspirational force behind Lulu's Gourmet crackers and Zatar Incorporated, Lulu, and just really tap into the traditional ancient wisdom culture of Palestine, which I'll tell you more about her and our episode in a moment. But first, just wanted to still welcome you into the now in-season Gemini region of the calendar, which is from the zodiac season perspective that I'm going by, May 21st to roughly around June 22nd. Gemini season as distinct from the constellation of Gemini, which is what Western astrologers are referring to when they say we've entered Gemini. We've actually entered Taurus in the astronomical sidereal calendar, which started around May 14th through 18th, roughly around that area, when the sun enters the constellation of Taurus, and that lasts about 31 days. And for those of you who are interested in how that works, whether the questions about the sidereal calendar or about the constellations as and how they've changed over the years based on the tilt of our elliptical axis, etc. I'm not an expert on any of these things, but just based on my own research and readings, and also just based on the ancient wisdom of everything is constantly in change, in flux, and so that would include the way in which our Earth experiences the constellations. And so that appears in intros to earlier episodes. So if you listen to episode 2 and 3, the intro for those episodes, you could find more information about that. And I do presence at the beginning of each of the episodes that I have thus far. I mean, we're not that deep into these episodes. I was listening to the Rich Roll podcast recently, and he's on to episode number 600, which I think he had some celebration for that milestone, but that is a milestone. That's a lot of episodes, and he's interviewed a lot of great people. And for those who aren't familiar with him, he's a vegan athlete, plant-based, and a humble dude, and someone who's really smart. And I know I enjoy listening to him and the questions he asks and the insight he brings. So if you haven't checked out his podcast, someone that you might be interested in. So we're also in the last phase of Uttarayana. Uttarayana is a term used in the Ayurvedic tradition referring to the northern solstice. And in the Ayurvedic tradition, the calendar is broken into 6 ritus. Ritus are referring to season, and accordingly there are certain regimens, including things like the kind of scents you should be or consider wearing, the kind of foods you might want to consider eating, the kind of herbs you might want to engage with, etc., etc. So it's a relatively sophisticated approach to the seasons and to aligning with the earth. And again, that's the lens I use in the medicine practice I engage in, as well as in how I engage with the methodology of the seasons, of medicine making, of body work, of nutrition, etc. So using this ancient wisdom culture that's from the region of the world that my family's from, which is the Indian subcontinent. So, and also looking at how it applies to us here in northern North America, which is where I'm from, and I'm specifically in the Northeast in Lenape country at the moment, which is the area of the greater Philadelphia area. And I said area twice. That's one of the rules in writing, is to try to avoid using the same word twice. For those who don't know, my undergrad was in creative writing, and writing is a big part of the medicine that I engage in, both personally as well as with clients that I work with, incorporating that into the work that I do. But let's get back to Uttarayana. Uttarayana is essentially referring to the ascent of the sun versus the descent of the sun. And this is, of course, in relationship to our Earth's elliptical orbit. And so during this period, the sun energy and the wind energies are strong, which means that our strength as human beings are weakened. And this could be a little bit of a difficult concept to grasp, and I won't go too much into it here. I have taught courses on some of these areas, and I might start doing that again. So when I do, I'll let you know. But suffice it to say that in entering or in being part of Uttarayana, that our strength diminishes during the northern solstice and strengthens during the southern solstice. So we're specifically entering Grishma, so the Ayurvedic seasons, as I mentioned, there's 6, and each of the seasons are about roughly 2 months. And so this is the beginning of the summer season, which starts in mid-May and concludes around mid-July. So Grishma is the summer season, and at this point, in that period of 2 months, in terms of the Gemini season, we're noticing that we're in a warmer state, that the cool temperatures that we do experience, especially here in the Northeast, aren't necessarily reaching below 50. We have had some cold spells recently, but they haven't been below 50. And there might be really high temperatures some days. So we've experienced as high as 90 last week here. We're also noticing if you suffer from allergies, that those allergies have begun to subside as the pollen has been distributed. There's growth in your gardens. If you keep a garden, you're noticing kind of a fullness in the greenery and the vegetation of the trees and plant life around you, that you're noticing that the sun might feel a little stronger when it hits you, and you might also be noticing that the days are longer. So to determine what to eat during this season, find out what's in season where you are. And if your area and where you are and the stores, the supermarkets that serve you aren't necessarily aligned with the seasons, but aligned with um, commercial food production, then this is a good season to tap into fruits. So traditionally, for instance, my family had passion fruits around this time of year, things like mango, pineapples, etc. This is a good time to have things like smoothies, as it's cooling and easy to digest. If you're into lattes, you can have like a matcha and turmeric latte, as they're warming, they support circulation, etc. You'd also want to shift your movement and exercise regimen, and that's true with any of the seasons. So from from Gemini season to Cancer season, I would change at my yoga regimen, so my Ashtanga will look different. So during this period, my Ashtanga begins to look a little bit more like Hatha yoga, where I'm focusing more on poses versus vinyasa, and I'm also focusing more on some of the strength poses like Vrikasana, which is handstand. I'm focusing on Bekasana, which is crow, things like that. So something to consider. So now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce again Lubna, my friend Lubna, or Lulu, who's the spirit behind Lulu's Gourmet crackers. And it was a real honor to have this interview with her, because I've known her over the years, and we ran into each other recently, as these things go with friends that you might not see for a long time, and then somehow whoever is meant to kind of weaves back into your life. But I now learned about her in this context of being within the realm of culinary arts. She was acting as a judge in this cook-off that I participated in with some of the vegan dishes that I cook. And so one of the things that I learned about her, especially in her approach to cuisine, and which is why I thought it would be important to have her on the show, was that she was really tapping into her ancient wisdom culture of being Palestinian, and was doing that through the kind of approach to making these crackers that are very specific to the region, using things like Zatar, which she goes over. It's become really popular in the culinary world. She presences God throughout the interview and how essential her relationship to God has been in going from a single mother without an income and battling to cancer to overcoming cancer, having a fairly successful offering with her, again, Lulu's Gourmet crackers. She also presences how important it is to dream beyond money, and how dreaming is both a privilege and an honoring of ancestry. And so we also talk about things like how food as medicine, and traditional Arab and Palestinian food as being medicinal, and having that understanding, and how it very much diminishes this idea of meat, which seems like it's foremost in that region of the world, and that's also true in many cultures now, which is ironic given that most people had meat very rarely, usually on very special occasions. So we talk about that as well. Some of the terms that she uses uh, throughout the interview, as well as some of the terms I might use that might be unfamiliar for you, I'll define in the liner notes. So that's it. Without further ado, here's the interview with Lulu. Welcome to the Cosmic Medicine Podcast, Lubna. How are you today?
I'm doing good. A little bit tired because I just drove from Washington. I was at the protest organized by AMP, American Muslims for Palestine organization, and they wanted to, show up, rain or shine, for Palestine. So we did that.
Right. And how was that experience?
So it was nice because I went with a group of my dearest friends. So the road trip is always fun. But to see people show up, it kind of took me back to memory lane. We've been here before, right? Like how many times we get a march to DC, to New York City, Times Square, until we are heard. But it felt nostalgic and tapped into like memory lane. However, we felt in the world of social media, this revolution is TikTokized, and that's my own thing, So because I don't think anyone, especially the opposite side, thought of the power of social media and TikTok. And it, for me, the generation that did stuff before social media, we were people before social media. Like my generation, then we don't need validation from social media. So I feel like this moment is what that generation dreamt of. We dreamt of this moment where New York Times is going to be talking about us, and finally we're not a terrorist. But I mean, I'm not saying go support New York Times.
Right.
I'm not saying all that. I'm just saying, for the first time, you see them giving, let's just say, 1 inch in. Even though that inch in is full of manipulation and distortion, but it's the cracking. It's the cracking of the mammoth. You know what I mean? This time and moment right now. If you haven't heard about it, it's like if you haven't heard of the Palestinian cause, that means you're under the rock, and it's by choice.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying is bringing up so much, like the idea of being in the shadows for so long,
Mm-hmm.
and then like the term you used, or the phrasing of like dreaming of this moment, and like just kind of this imagery of the inch, like kind of finally gaining an inch of light, so it's bringing up a lot in terms of so many peoples in the world who kind of exist in the in the public imagination as one thing, and then exist in relationship to the earth, in relationship to each other, in relationship to neighbors, ancestry, in a whole different light that's not covered. So it's interesting that like this period of social media can do that, and you use the word term cracking, and that just kind of makes me think of your offering, as Lulu's gourmet crackers. That might sound like a literal connection, but it does make me
Isn't
think
that
of
funny?
how you've kind of cracked into ancestry. And for those who don't know you, it's like you've been renowned in not just the Palestinian community, not just the Arab community, I think, and not just the Muslim community, but just, I would say, the community of people who are really into that Middle Eastern cuisine of, just hummus, falafel, and not just in a very surface way, but people who I know, when I've gotten into like ancestral food, things that my mom has made for years. Like, we use certain spices to cook with. Over time, as I grew more deeper into it, it just made me more curious about the history. And as I pursued my path as a medicine man, I just realized the depth of knowledge that was there, the depth of wisdom that was there, and then also the stories that it was connected to. So I'm just wondering for yourself, like, as on the one hand, constantly occupying this position of being an activist, but also kind of choosing this path of going deeper in the cuisine. What led you to this path, and what's the connection between the activism and, this cuisine and cooking?
In the beginning, I started baking because it was a way of getting my mind off depression. I was very depressed. There was a lot of personal battles. I happened to just recently been a single mom of twins. You know me from another path, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because I never imagined I would be doing this what I'm doing today.
Mm.
And it started because I was in such a deep hole. And I was questioning everything. Like, my whole world just crumbled. I had just recovered from first time breast cancer.
Wow.
I had gotten pregnant. Then while I'm pregnant, I've been abandoned by my partner, and that was that. And then I had the twins, and then moving back to live with my parents, right, and no money. It was like too many right, things going on. And I just started baking to like release whatever. I just needed to feel I felt the need to create something with my hands. And when the twins were little, I used to take long walks up and down LIC, up and down Jackson Heights, you named it. Everywhere I walked a double stroller, push it through rain, just crying, I was like, why is this happening to me? God, please, Allah, show me the light, And I would post at nighttime, I would post pictures of like my creations. It was like Zatar crackers. Be like, let me do this with cheese. Let me do this with sun-dried tomatoes. Where you learn the flavors you picked up in New York, because New York is very diverse.
Right.
And you gotta appreciate that. You're a citizen of the world in New York, basically. So I would post on Snapchat, and Snapchat was up and coming, and people like, hey, are you selling those? I was like, hell yeah. How much? It was like $5. I didn't know how to price it. Right. I just cared that, hey, it's $5. My hands created, of course, with God, by, allowing me to do it. Right. And it was just taken from there. And then I was like, okay, maybe I do an Instagram page, and it was word of mouth, and and every obstacle that came my way, subhanallah, like as if Allah was just showing me with every obstacle. I was like, that's it. I don't think I can do this anymore. And then he'll show me a way of, no, you can do it. You know, it's still possible. Like something would, let's say I needed a babysitter for something to deliver some crackers. And I was like, I can't, it's 11 p.m. and I can't deliver the crackers by tomorrow. So all of a sudden I'll get a phone call. I could watch your kids.
Wow.
You know, or I don't have that kind of money to buy the material, and somebody would just like, you know, I want to talk to you. Here's $300, $400, you know, without me knowing how things work and how. Listen, as if I have miracles happen to me, you know, and I'm just off tangent. In Islam, we believe in miracles. Outside of Islam, it's called magic.
Wow.
Get it? So miracles do happen to ordinary people. You don't have to be a prophet, but you have to, you know, you have to believe in the power of God, that He will put people, He will put you in position. You just gotta trust the plan, you know. But it's hard. Today I say that with some easiness, but in the beginning it certainly wasn't easy. And I started baking, and I had like Judy Kala, who I love dearly. She's done Palestine in a plate. She was the queen of the Palestinian cuisine, because she had put a book, was against all odds, naming Palestine on the cover. And I was like, who can I ask to give me a shout out, you know? And let me go big to the stars. So Judy was the star. She had like 25,000 followers at that moment, when I had 25. You know?
Just a little bit of difference.
Just a little bit of difference, you know. And everybody was like, Judy Kala this, Judy Kala that. So I was like, hi, can I send you some crackers? I was like, yeah, send me and I'll show you out. And she gave me like, you know, in the social media world, getting 1,000 followers from one shout out. You know, and not asking for money. That's deep.
That's huge. That shows
what kind of queen she is, you know? I'll never forget. And I always say this story. I always tell this story. But that's, you know, so in the beginning, I was just like about getting the money, right? And then I started like, okay, who am I? Asking that question in that world. Who am I? What am I doing? Is it really for the money? You know, but wait a minute. I am a crackers business, which is snacks. Who am I mirroring myself with? And a lot of people like, don't name it Zatar. Don't name it Msakhan, which is a traditional Palestinian, rural, from, you know, the country people dish, which is homemade bread dipped on olive oil, harvested from the olive season, you know, and onions on top with sumac and chicken. And they're like, don't name them Msakhan. Nobody can say it. And this is, you know, 2017, 2018. I was like, I don't care. Yeah, but it's not going to sell. It's not marketable. I was like, I don't care. I'm making something for me, for my kids. You know, I was like, and I got, you know, some critiques. And then that's when I started, I was like, wait a minute. I can be whoever I want to be, because I am making history. And I don't care whatever people say or don't believe in me. It's enough that I believe in me. That's just a whole nother conversation.
Right. Well, I want to hear about that, but what I'm also hearing is that you knew how to read the signs. I think what you're talking about is, in terms of this difference between miracle and magic that you presenced, is that one of the things that's constantly not just suggested, but very much required in the tradition of Islam, is to be able to read signs. If only you would think. If only you would think. You know, we gave you water, we gave you the sun, we gave you the moon.
You have to be connected. There's no way.
Right. So it sounds like you learned how to like bridge that connection between being an entrepreneur. And so that's just very true.
If you don't go through what I've been through, and you're still that idiot, there's no hope for you. I'm sorry. You know, like, I got smacked by life so hard. And my salvation, it was God and is God, and that's period. If I ever question, I went to war with him. I fought with him. I begged him. And when you work with your hands, there's no way you cannot be spiritual and connected. There's no way.
Wow.
That means your heart is not connected, because when you bake with your hands, it's the direct connection with your heart, and your heart has to be set in a certain way, because when people taste your food, is what comes from their heart.
Well, I wanna maybe problematize that. I'm wondering about that because I know that as a medicine man, one of the things I've done is one of the components of the medicine I practice is body work. It's a huge part of the Ayurvedic tradition is to like work on people's bodies. And in the past, I've had to compartmentalize my medicine man skills into individual pieces, components. Like instead of practicing as a whole medicine man, I had to just work on as a massage therapist at times at a spa. And it could be very transactional. Like someone will come in for like 60 minutes and you get paid a certain amount and they want exactly what they want, etc. So, and to honor your point, I know I felt really sad in those moments when it felt like a transaction, but when it wasn't that, it felt honoring and I felt uplifted. So, yeah.
The thing is, when you don't want to feel like a transaction, right? In this fast-paced world,
right.
You're gonna have to kind of just modify, kind of play by the game, by the rules of the game, But in general, it is not a transactional, I don't want to say moment, but it's not a transactional
interaction. It sounds like what you're saying is there has to be a relationship between the strings of the heart and the strings of the hand, and the heart is actually pulling the hands, and so the heart acts as the ventriloquist, and if it's not, then you're divorced from reality, from real reality, from God.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of friends who don't have God, right? And I have a lot of friends that have God. For me personally, I always tell them, listen, I see you. And they like almost 50, and they still have this inner war. And, therapy after therapy, drugs after drugs, books after books, and you still, like, just give in, man. Come on. You can. I'm telling you, I've seen what you're looking at right now. And you see me today, owning what I own, is because I just submitted. I stopped fighting, and it's not a bad thing because he knows what is best for us, anyways. Right. It's a hard. Everybody has their journey, right. But the sooner you realize that, the more you can enjoy this life, and we believe in the hereafter. So the more you can enjoy the hereafter, but man in general, and the forces, because especially in Islam, like the shaitan, like the devil, is as a renowned enemy. He told God straight up, like, I will not stop chasing your creation until the last breath, leaves their soul. So, if you read the Quran, it's very repetitive, over and over. It's saying, give alms, be respectful to your elders, especially your parents, fast, pray, and stay away from the enemy. He is not your friend. He is not your friend, Right. But man, in general, outside of Islam and within Islam, I don't know.
Yeah, I think what you're really, like for me, when you say that, what sends tremors down through my body is my own ego. Like I feel like so much of my life has been a battle with ego, and ego to me is in many ways, you could say Satan, you could say Shaitan, and I think, in so many ways, you can also make ego synonymous with that, because when our ego gets in the way, it's like what you were saying about when you kind of put everything else aside and you just submitted, nothing could touch you. Like you were just unstoppable. And what I'm wondering is, how do those heartstrings that connected
ego,
Go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
think ego in Islam will be nafs.
Right. Okay.
And I don't know if you ever heard, like, there was actually a Disney show, a Disney cartoon called How to Train Your Dragon, something like
Oh,
that.
I have heard of it. I haven't seen it.
But I was like, why did they name that?
Hmm.
What does that mean? Because,
Hmm.
like some Disney, whatever they put out is something, right? And I'm like, could be like your nafs.
Right.
You got to train your nafs. And
Right.
Islam came with the perfect message to teach us how to do it,
Right.
So I take that teachings, okay?
Right.
And sometimes the ego gets in your way, like the pride and the ego. And then again, nobody's more consumed in pride and ego than the shaitan.
Right. Right.
So do you want to, like, it's okay to love your ego a little bit, but you always get as long as you're breathing, there gotta be always constant self-check. Why are you doing this? Is it for what's your purpose?
Right.
So this is what I come into. Like, when I started, it was because of money. Then I was like, wait a minute, I could be my own superhero, because I don't see nobody wearing the same cape. So I'm gonna pave the way. You know what? We 70, 80s child, like we have wild imagination, okay? I was like, who's my superhero? I'm okay, I'm gonna wear my own cape. I'm gonna design it, I'm gonna fashion it and wear it proudly.
Right.
And then I got sick again, and I'm like, okay, so what is that message again, that I got sick again, second time with breast cancer?
This was after the twins. This was after
recently, last year.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, what is the message that God is sending me? What do I need to learn? Check your ego. Rectify your purpose. So do I want to be the Lulu's Gourmet crackers? So people be like, she was the first. She's the hero. Yeah, So I had to shift, and it's hard because social media just gave egocentric people a platform.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of followers on Instagram. I mean, every time
I get a little bit.
I mean, you're close to being an influencer, and this is in a very short span of time. But for me, I'm wondering I
hate the word, though. I don't like that, influencer.
I know. I'm with you.
I'm here to not waste my time, or people that follow my time. Right. Time is precious. Influencer, I feel they want to sound like they know what they're doing, but they also so consumed in putting an aesthetic look that it's not realistic. I'm a single mom of twins with low income. Right. Okay, and every day I get up with health issues. Every day I get up, it's a fight. It's a jihad. That's what I want to show, that you can do it, and it's not about the money, because money comes and goes. It's your purpose. It's you. It's your discipline, and your what do you call that? The name is slipping. Reputation. Right. Who are you? Right. If I live tomorrow, like if Allah calls me tomorrow, at least when they look, it's like she was trying to do something avant-garde. Because nobody was doing this. Don't tell me you saw this page before, something like this in this page before. Just shut up, you didn't. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it's yeah.
I love the spirit you bring into your cuisine. And the story behind it. What is the connection for you? And what I'm also hearing from you is like the intention is everything. So what's the intention with Lulu's Crackers at this point in terms of, where are you between actually just being an entrepreneur, sustaining, maintaining yourself, and also just presencing history and connecting with history? Do you feel like in the process of making this, you're connecting with your lineage? Yes. So how's that happening for you?
So I wanted, in the beginning, also, there's a practical side of having crackers made in Zatar. Because, if you eat Zatar in general, it's pita bread dunked in olive oil. And Zatar, it can get very messy. So
could you just for the sake of our listenership, just tell us what Zatar is?
Zatar is okay. Zatar. Ooh, I see if this is going on. Okay, Zatar is in the oregano thyme family. I would say if thyme and oregano had a cousin, but as a strong-sided cousin, that would be the zatar. They call it Greek zatar or Syrian biblical zatar, oregano. Sorry. So the taste is peculiar to Palestine, right, in the mountains of Palestine. It's a very marjoram. Marjoram. It's also like kind of pungent, like strong. Right. So it's kind of bad, but it's smoother at the end. And the leaves look like oregano and marjoram, right, right, but they're not. It's a very peculiar plant that grows in Palestine, the mountain sides of Lebanon, Right. So what they do is they pick that, they dry it, they bring sesame seeds, roasted sesame seeds, and some people put citric acid to preserve and give it like a kick, and sumac. Some people put add salt, but those are the main components. Right?
So it's like a combination of herbs and spices.
Right. And we grew up, every Palestinian will tell you that. My grandmother, my mom told us that if you ate zatar, it's good for your brain, Right. So it was right before an exam, there we were, they're like, give me some of that. It was like our superpower, And now that I'm into it, I'm like, also there is a respiratory benefits to eating zatar, So that goes into what you're tapping into. So you can't just be doing something with that your ancestors did without opening a book or two, or
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, and just channeling, like, wow, why did they do that? I mean, those are herbs from the land, and it makes you think, like, in the diaspora in the time of war, how did they think of bringing zatar? And your house is a chaos. Let me just grab a bag. But then again, it makes sense because you make a pita sandwich, zeto zatar, like olive oil and zatar. You feed that's your breakfast, and you move on.
Wow.
So it's mind-boggling to think how our moms and grandmothers actually cooked all those beautiful dishes that you see displayed on social media today. Beautiful, beautiful aesthetic. In times of war, they could easily just give in and say, you know what, F this. My house just been bombed and we just got kicked. Right. We don't know where we're living. They placed us in refugee camps and UN ships, to across the Atlantic. Right. Why should I cook?
Right. I mean, facts. That's so true, right?
So the point is making something practical on the go for moms. Like, we also mothers today don't have time to stay slaving in the kitchen, we appreciate their food, but we don't have time. So it's got to be practical. It's healthy. And my dream, it would be to be in every little bodega corner store, but it is a little gourmet. It's a little pricey, but I figured I'm a low income family myself.
Right.
If I had to allocate money when the EBT cash ins, I would put $5-10 aside just for that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I wanted low income families of other backgrounds, like the Latino or African American, to also be able to access this.
Right.
When you go to the bodega, instead of giving your child that quarter chip, put a little more money. It's healthier for him or her, and just make it a pantry staple.
Well, I think one of the things that would really benefit that interrelationship with other communities also is when you're beyond just consumer power, beyond just being deliberate in terms of how we spend our money as a community and like who we're supporting and so on, is also just connecting to histories and lineages, right? So like
Right.
when purchasing Lulu's gourmet crackers, I'm connecting with someone else's heart work. It's not just like wide scale manufacturing
No,
processes,
it's not Nabisco. This is not Nabisco.
right?
Or Goya,
Right.
And I see if people like, wow, how come you're not here? How come you're not there? People forget. And you are on your own timeline, first of all. Okay. And trust me, I try to get out of line and God put me right back down. He's like, yo, nope. You got cancer again. I got cancer again. So what do? Is it because I'm lazy? I'm not lazy. Is it because I'm not chasing? The one thing about me, money, it's not it. I used to be, because I was like, I gotta get it. My kids. If I don't bake, till like wee hours a night, I'm not chasing it. No, you gotta understand that what's written for you, it's written for you. All you gotta do is show up.
Wow.
Okay, right. And you have to trust it. Your time, you can work, you could slave day and night, and Allah has not written for you that certain amount of money. You're not gonna make it.
Right.
So whatever, I'm just doing this. I'm gonna honor my health. I do have little kids. I'm not the American typical business model either, and I cannot go to Stephanie or Jennifer or Kimberly, whatever, for advice, And even if I were to go to a Fatima advice, does she have the components to make me better? Which is, are you a single mom? Are you a mom at all? Have you struggled at all? Right. So I'm not gonna go to somebody who has made it into Fortune 500 for advice.
Right. Well, I wanna really presence what you're saying in this conversation I had with my brother and cousin this past weekend, which was how there's all these ancient wisdom positions that people within a village serve, right? So, for instance, my mom has and dad have acted as like marriage counselors for people within our community, not because that's who they are, but it's just like, my dad's an elder and like people listen to him and so on. And right. So there's people having like domestic violence issues. And so they know that my mom's someone who's nourishing with her food. So they call them up and then they talk to them. But now through professionalizing, there's all these little positions that people play. And they're also being educated in a model that's not necessarily attuned with spirituality and not attuned with the cultures that people are coming from. So the person's name might be either Kimberly or Fatima, but it doesn't matter. They have that same educational programming, and they're going to interact with you in that same way, versus what you're saying is, from what I'm gathering, is like you have a whole nother way of connecting with your food, which is a divine design and surrendering to it and showing up. So
and what I meant by that, Kimberly and Fatima, I meant that I need help, right? Yeah, I need people to understand why isn't Lulu's Gourmet Crackers at Whole Foods? Because there's a process, and people think the American way of doing it is like you gotta eat, sleep, and shit your business, And I'm like, no, I have kids, I have elderly parents. I have this, I had cancer. You gotta chill, that model doesn't apply sometimes.
Right.
And then you have to understand that I'm not letting go of my dream, but what I'm trying to say is timing. It's not in your head. Timing is the creation of God.
Wow.
Get it?
Wow.
And you can't push it. You can't. It's everything. Timing is everything, but at the same time, and it's anything.
What do you mean by that? It's everything and it's anything.
If you go by the social social expectancy, right? Mm-hmm. Like if a business isn't if you're doing a business and you're 5 years in and you haven't made it, give up.
I see.
But it doesn't work like that. What do you do when you have nobody else, but you have that dream? How many people you have heard of for 30 years, they've been working on something, boom, it happened. Some people 2 years, 1 year, and it happens for them. I just don't, I can't go for like, I try, what I'm trying to say is like, sometimes you have to find who can help you giving your predicaments, rather than go for help, looking for help in a source that has no connection to your predicament.
Absolutely.
Like if I go to what I'm gonna use, like Kimberly, who's an all-American girl, has no idea what Zatar is coming from, what it is to be children of immigrants, of Palestinians per se, and the struggles that comes with it. Why am I gonna go torture myself listening to her so she can tell me what I'm doing is all wrong?
Right.
And then you know what happens? You give up on your dream, and somebody else comes and sees that, it's like, oh, I'm gonna take it. It was actually a great dream, but because you listened to the wrong advice. I mean, it could be the right advice, but from the wrong person.
Right.
So when I do that, and I have a lot of women that, especially when I was very open about going through the cancer, a lot of women like, thank you so much for using a platform. A lot of young girls started baking, and they saw like the Lulu's Gourmet crackers. It was just like, how did you start? I was like, you just do it. You just believe it. Just do it. All you have to do is like losing weight the first time. Like, you got to show up to the gym the first time.
Right. Well,
why? Just do it.
Why was it important? I mean, you also are Brazilian, right? Like, you also kind of, you have that history in Brazil by by way of Palestine, but you chose to connect with Palestine as your medium of, like, telling these stories through your food. Why? What was that process for you? What made you decide?
It's interesting because, first of all, Brazilians make a lot more sweets, and there is pão de queijo, like cheese balls, right? Like that's saturated the market. The zata, and Brazilians do have a fascination with the Arabic culture because there's so many Palestinians, Lebanese, Syrians, in the diaspora. I said that, like, growing up in a Brazilian society, with my Palestinian mom cooking the feijão, which is black beans, even the feijão tasted Palestinian.
Right. My mom does that with Indian food. She'll you can have pizza, and we'll be like, wait, why does this pizza taste so spicy and like currified?
Recently, we just discovered how many, we all in 40s, right? Like my siblings and I. We just recently caught my mom using 7 spice in a very, very, very traditional Southern cuisine, Brazilian Southern cuisine dish. And my mom was like, Anna, I always I was like, what? That's galinhada. You can't do that. Galinhada is like arroz con pollo, you would say.
Okay,
but we do like the country style. And we're like, no, you never did. She's like, no, wallah, I always did. We're like, how? We never. You can't do that. It's just salt and pepper. That's it. Like Brazilian condiment is, a little bit bay leaves here and there.
Going against the rules. That's awesome.
I was like, Right. Yeah. So Zatar was because, and there was nothing like that. It just happened. I don't know. I'm trying to do a Brazilian flavor crackers, and I try to do like some with goiabada, which is guava. Okay. Guava. What is guava?
Yeah, guava. The
what
fruit.
Is guava in English?
The fruit guava.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's guava, I think.
I forgot the name in English.
Okay.
But it was a little too sticky, but it was really, really good.
Okay.
I don't know, but I like to say that, Brazil has a big influence in allowing me to be who I am today,
Yeah, I mean, I know how engaged you were in like even traditional Brazilian arts like capoeira, and you've
Yeah.
always kind of, you've always, it's interesting, like in my knowing you over the years, is that you've present tradition in these different ways. For a good part of your life, like I knew you as the capoeirista, the woman who did capoeira.
But you know what I found out?
What?
Capoeira had some connection with the Muslim Africans
Huh.
traditions, and it's wild, you know, the connection, which makes totally sense, a lot of total sense. And they were the Muslim, you know, the Muslim kings, I like to call them, brought as slaves to South America. And they were basically the strong ones, like the fighters.
I see.
But there's a lot of connection between capoeira and Muslim and the Islamic tradition, of the chorus, like repeating the songs, the singing, the tabla, the drums. I came across once a good article, and I wish I had saved it. There's a lot of to dig in, right? And recently, as if the wildest thing came through. I always dreamt, like when I was doing capoeira, remember Hunter College, I was the only Brazilian Palestinian doing that.
Right.
Until this, I haven't come across any other, to be honest.
Right.
And I've dreamt, like, oh, maybe, why isn't capoeira in Palestine? Why? Fast forward 20 years later, I come across this account, this young man, mashallah, like Barakallah fi, doing capoeira. They all out, like, accurate. They look clean. Their moves are clean. It's not like somebody trying,
Right.
No, they're like belts, and they have the system. They have everything. And the songs that they're singing, it's basically the capoeira songs, but with Arabic in it.
Wow.
It's just like, wow. I tell him all the time, his name is Hassan Cavallo.
Okay.
And I'm like, yo, your existence is my dream coming true. It's funny how you witness that in your lifetime, right. Like one time you dream of something, and 20 years later you was like, wow, it's actually reality for somebody else now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
It's wild. It's wild to be a witness to that.
Right.
So this is what I want to get, where we dreamt of having a product out there in the market, Why can't we go to the aisles and find something that is ours, like fubu, right? For us, by us, to us, right? And maybe, maybe not in my lifetime, maybe in my kids' lifetime, they were going to grow up with Zatar crackers in every shelf. And it's going to be so normal. It was going to be so...
One of the things that's coming up for me is another reason to... engage with the Zatar products that you've been putting out isn't just that they're made by a single mom, made by someone who's connected with the lineage of the food, made by someone who has stories that accompany each of the food, but also what I'm hearing from you is that it's medicinal. Like there's these medicinal qualities to Zatar. And I guess what I'm wondering is, in this, it's growing more and more in the public domain, this concept of food as medicine. Historically, would you say that Palestinian food has been medicinal, and how do you connect with those medicine stories, which are so big in so many like oral tradition cultures? Like so many people carry medicine by way of the traditions, and sometimes it's a cooking tradition.
Yeah, totally. I mean, if you look at the dishes, it's from the land, it's from the land, from the harvest, and nothing that they planted was not healthy. And, their illness was not what we hear today, like like, let's just say autism is a first world problem, you know, or new, it's a new century problem, you know. I don't think our parents heard so many cases of autism, let's just say.
Right.
Or if they did, they didn't know, and they'd be like, just give him Zatar, olive oil, you know, he's good. Just say Bismillah, right?
Right. And maybe that worked.
Yeah, you know, and the kid was fine. Right. But totally Palestinian cuisine is very, when you see the ingredients that we use, you know, it's a lot of green, a lot of freshness. A lot of them are vegetarian or vegan. I wouldn't say vegan completely, but they are vegetarian, you know. So, and it's because that taps into the socioeconomic issue. Meat for Arabs is a new concept. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ didn't eat meat or rice.
Wow.
Maybe once in his lifetime.
Right.
You know, like after his death, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Silk Road, there was introduction to the rice, abundance of meat, because the Arabs started getting richer, you know, and it became more and more of a luxury. Until today in Palestine, like especially after this new invasion and usurpation of land and killing, you do a dabiha, you do a killing. People are like, wait a minute, I haven't had meat for 2 years. Allahu Akbar. What a privilege. Oh, I just got goosebumps, man. Right. Like sometimes astaghfirullah, like we throw food away because we are full. There's no room in the fridge and we've been eating the same meat for 3 days. Khalas, you know, we don't want it anymore. But people haven't had meat for 2 years, 3 years. That goes to show what a luxury it is to be eating animal meat.
Right. You know? I often come across people who are like, you know, I can't not eat meat. It's part of my culture. And I'm like, well, I mean, I grew up eating meat myself, and no one's ever eaten meat every single day or with every single meal. Maybe on occasion, like once or twice a year, but this is unheard of for people to eat meat every day and with every meal.
Right. It's a new world phenomenon, you know, like that wasn't our grandparents' way.
I'm wondering, what are some of the stories that you've connected with in terms of Palestinian history through the process of, you know, cooking and baking and making, you know, making these crackers and these foods?
So I grew up, I was born and raised in Brazil. My grandparents, my father's side, migrated the entire family to Brazil. It was a trip that took a month, sponsored by UNRWA. There was a little hiccups before my father begged to get in the ship because some of his family side ended up in Jordan and the refugee camps. And he had checked Brazil prior to the move a few years. And he fell in love. Mm-hmm. Brazil is abundant in greenery. The people are simple like Palestinians. They welcomed him. There was water everywhere. You know, the small towns are very backwards, but there was greenery, you know, like something that maybe, I wouldn't say Palestine, but that he could assimilate, you know. So he went and got his family, 5 children, to Brazil. And when they moved, my grandparents were like your parents, the elders, that everybody who was just migrating to the little town came for advice, help, food. So my grandmother used to cook. The family was known for the cook. Like my mom, my aunts. Oh, you know, they are the good cooks. They cook really good food. You know, so we like the way you guys cook. But we never paid attention. And my grandmother never made a dime out of that, right?
Right.
My mom never made a dime out of that. And people to today is like, oh, I'm Shahir, like my mom's kunya, right?
Right.
Oh, you make the best this, that. You make the best this. So there I come. I'm not if I get in the kitchen to cook, I need to be televised, right? Like I need to be pictured. Look what I did. You better be clapping, and you better say that it's delicious. And then I come and I start baking crackers, and my father's like, what do you want wasting your time? Take care of your family, take care of your health, and nobody's going to pay you for that. Why? So within my family, kind of changed the game. You know, my father went from the biggest critic to the biggest supporter.
Wow. And
when I bake and I make money, let's just say $100 I made from one single transaction, I always think of my grandmother. How would she be feeling to know that I'm getting paid for my time in the kitchen?
Wow.
That's
for work she did selflessly.
My father's side. Right. That's my father's side. My father's side, because my grandmother, his mom, God bless her soul, was a red lady. So she could have actually kind of sort of dream of that day. What about my mom's mom? I am a dream she never had. I bet you money, like my grandmother from my mom's side, God bless her little soul. I'm her wildest dream. Like if somebody would have came to her, I was like, Najiye, you're gonna have a grandchild that is gonna be doing something different. She's like, no, we don't do that. That's not us. To step outside of that mentality, that mind frame, that dream frame, is a wild thing. It's a revolutionary thing. Mm-hmm. So we are giving this opportunity by being in the quote unquote new world, being born in Brazil, being born in South America, being born in America, here in the States. And if you're not doing something big, or just anything, basically, besides watching TV, then you've just wasted a whole lineage. Wow. Of possibilities and dreams and paving ways.
You know what's sending tremors through me is
haram.
Wow.
Haram.
Like connecting with the whole lineage of dreams, like dreams being the way in which we connect from generation to generation, and you're making these crackers is not just connecting you with the people who came before you, but their dreams, maybe going back centuries or thousands of years.
Or just how could they have dreamt when they had war at hand? So here we are, so privileged, Asif.
Right.
For you to want to and honor my voice, and I'm having all those kind of feels right now, and not honor them. Like I'm not making money, to be honest, but it's not about that for me. My money is gonna come. The bag is gonna come. The cheese is gonna come. The cheddar is gonna come. It's not about that for me right now. I'm trying to establish something. Maybe I'm not gonna see it in my lifetime. Maybe my children, my offspring, and I'm just honoring that role that the path that they chose and were giving. It was a 30-day trip to South America.
Wow.
I can't. It's just too much. To a world that they know nothing of. They didn't know language.
Right.
They didn't know what they were going to find. My father was 14 years old.
Wow.
My grandfather told him, go work. How?
Right.
They didn't speak Portuguese. God knows what kind of people they were going to encounter in the new world. And to be giving this privilege of tapping into a dream that I have and not honoring, it's a waste of ancestry.
Wow.
It's haram. I feel that every single one of us should be doing something, teaching something, honoring something. You know, we can't just be idle people.
Right, because this is a gift. We're inside of a gift.
It is. It is a gift.
And time is what equates to gift. So the gift, and so it's like, how are you using your time, which is how are you using your gift? And if it's in a way that's idle, then you're wasting this gift.
That goes to answer your question. Time is anything, everything.
Huh. Right.
Time.
Yeah. Well, now.
And then Sayyidina Muhammad said, people waste 2 or 3 things, I believe: time and youth and health.
Wow.
And then that hadith, by the way, I read it, I would say 5-6 years ago, and just made sense. It just clicked in my brain today, like, recently.
What made it make sense for you?
No, because if you are a disciple of his life, right? Sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you start reading, and then you're like, oh, I got what he means, but you didn't really get it. Islam is a religion for the thinker. That's why there is a dua, a supplication that asks, may God increase me knowledge, beneficial knowledge. The knowledge that you don't want to spend a lifetime studying how ants poop.
Right.
What's humanity going to benefit of that?
Are you familiar with Omar Ali Shah?
Omar Ali Shah.
He's from a tariqa that comes out of India, a Sufi tariqa, and he wrote this book called The Course of the Seeker, which I'm not even sure how it ended up in my lap, but it did. And so he spoke exactly to that point, and of course from the teachings of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, which was that when seeking knowledge, make sure that it's knowledge that it's reflective of your path, because then you're just, if you're trying to read and accumulate information on a mass scale of everything, then you're essentially wasting your time, and it's going to keep you from your path.
Right.
Yeah.
So, no disrespect, that's your thing, but you want to learn something that you could teach somebody, because knowledge is to be shared. You can't, and then imagine, in a perfect case example is our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Imagine he's getting all the revelation. If he was stingy for some odd reason, and he kept one of the secrets away from us, we wouldn't have the power of dua. We wouldn't have the power of supplication, and you could have kept it.
Right.
And the more you share, the more you're going to get.
Right.
I mean, we still want to make money to eat, right?
Yeah. Sure.
Do you want to be like a Jeff Bezos? I don't want to be a Jeff Bezos. I really don't have any interest. What kind of soul you want to be, or you want to have to carry that burden? That's a burden. Do you think that to be given $1 trillion budget into your name, and you're not going to be answered when you could have fed everybody?
Right.
You could have put 100 million people in school without, denting your wealth.
Right.
Come on.
Right.
I would never want to wish to be that. I want to make money where I'm comfortable. Where, in case of emergencies, you don't have to think twice. Should I sell my most beloved possessions so I could get a treatment? I want to put my kids to college if that's the choice. You don't need a lot to be happy in terms of material.
As we start winding down, I'm wondering what is, you mentioned this a couple of times, but you didn't really get explicit. So I'm curious, what is your dream for Lulu's Gourmet Crackers?
I employ women like me. I give hope to women that, let's just say they had to leave at a violent scenario and they need jobs opportunities. This is where they will find a job. It could be a career. I wish to be everywhere, like Whole Foods, Trader Joe's. There's nothing wrong making money off those posh places. I'm not all against that. I have other ambitions. Like it's not that just product. It's not one product. So my main company name is Zatar Child.
Right.
Because like we're it's children of Zatar, children of the diaspora.
I love that.
And under that umbrella, I'm gonna have other products that I have in mind, inshallah.
Right. Inshallah.
It could be gears, it could be drips. It could be spices.
Right.
But always being of service. A product of service. It's beautiful. It's gratifying.
Right.
And alhamdulillah, may Allah give me life to see that coming through, and I don't want to, can you imagine Asif being at like a Amazon, and I don't know what he does with that kind of wealth, but and you're not putting school after school
right.
or hospital after hospital.
Right.
Why?
Right.
You know that he just did?
What?
He put it up. People were complaining of being tired, right? At his factories. Did you hear that?
No.
And he put up a booth to sleep.
Oh.
Why can't you just give them more money or vacations and
right.
just send them home early?
Right. Well, what I would say is why not both? Because I do think there is something to siesta. I personally take siesta every day. The majority of the world's population has done so. And so for people to just work straight through 8 hours, which is the modern world, it doesn't make sense. I mean, people do get tired.
Listen, United States, I think, is the only country that does that. Okay, which is straight up slavery. Okay, and I don't know why people can't put two and two together. Right. Because in Brazil, comes 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock, everything is shut. In Arab world is the same thing. Right after Salatul Duhur to 2 o'clock, is everything done. At one time I had an influx, and then I was like 3 months behind, and some people got tight, and I was like, listen, this is small business. If you say you want to support small business, this is what it is.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's really important to presence. I think is that there's so much in our, in the capitalist model that's about efficiency and being expedient, etc. And I think it is important to
understand. This is not Amazon Prime. Right. Absolutely not.
Right. Well, it's just a different model, right? It's like there's something called slow economics, just like slow food.
Yeah.
And it's just a different way of thinking. Like not everything has to be quick fix. So for sure.
Right. And you know what, Steve? In the baking world and the manual world, the manual labor, as you can see, it's coming back strong because people realize the quick fix is not it. It's a computer glitched. And what are you going to do? You're going to go back to basics. So a lot of trade schools are coming up again. Remember? That's true. Right. Manual labor, it's expensive because you're paying for that manual labor.
Right.
So inshallah, my plan is to move into a facility where I can have extra help and does producing faster and more. You do got to be ambitious here, like there, but that's that. And not jeopardizing the quality.
I'm just wondering, have you considered, because this is something I'm interested in with my work as well, is as I look into being more of an alternative, as Gandhi said, you have to be the change you wish to see in the world, is I'd like to be more cooperative. So I'm wondering if you've ever considered a women's cooperative or just a cooperative in terms of the work that you do. So it's kind of more of a circular model versus a,
so sometimes, no, yeah, I see what you're saying. It could be good. But for me right now, the way I see it, you got to stay focused. And sometimes too many cooks in the kitchen burns the food.
That's true. Right.
So I've seen it. Sometimes when I get in the kitchen with my mom and she's there, we end up not making it takes longer to make one simple dish because we both rely on each other, and then nobody does anything, and then something gets burned. Oh, you were there. No, you didn't tell me this. You put salt. No, I don't remember. No.
Right. Yeah,
that's why a lot of problems are avoided if you are by yourself.
Right, right. Yeah, and I definitely agree with you what you're saying, especially in regards to the fact that I can be someone who's not very focused, and so
Yeah.
I can dream, and I think what you're saying is to dream, but to like put your dream into action versus just to dream.
Yeah, no, I'm very like when I put something in my mind, I do it,
Yeah,
and I'm very persistent, and I have my ways of doing things, that works.
yeah,
And if I'm gonna have somebody in my team and it doesn't, and they want to challenge every step of the way, I'm gonna waste time and going back and forth, and I don't want to do that.
right,
You either on board because of you trust the plan.
right,
We're not going back and forth. You know what I mean?
right.
And people are like, and then in women, oh gosh, in women world, if you're like that, they people want to call her, oh, bitchy, bossy, no,
Right.
it's just we don't get no time to waste.
I know you're
Because my
raising.
kids are going to come home and that's it.
Right, right. And I know you know that better than so many other people, given what you've been through like these past few years. And I guess one thing that I think would be really important for me to hear, I'm sure other people might be curious as well. And I know we had this conversation briefly a year or two ago, is what was your journey in overcoming cancer?
So, first, my journey was the second time, right? The first time is and that goes across the board. Like first time cancer survivors is I can't do it. You have this high. You're invincible. I got this. I got it. And then cancer comes back, like smacks you in the face, and you're like, what the fuck? That means something's not working in my body. My body betrayed me again.
How long between the first time and the relapse, the second
7 years.
How many years?
7.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the way I treated the first time, it wasn't supposed to come back. So that's also like, why did it come back? The why. And the peculiar timing, like in 2019, I was kind of in a crescendo with my business, doing this, doing that, organizing this, organizing that. And then boom, I got the news. I felt like I was shot in my knee.
Wow.
And I was like, God, why? Why? Allah, why? And I used to drive in the highway crying and asking him why, and asking him for forgiveness for asking him to dare to ask why, It was like very, very a spiritual battle, even though my spirituality was high.
Right.
But it also got tested. And then when the dust settled, so I would say that my battle with that second time was way deeper. It made me like reprogram everything again, rethink everything again, that I thought I got it from the first time. And again, Allah was testing me with previous trials, which is health and wealth. And in the Quran, over and over, he says, did you think that it was enough for you to say, I believe, and I wasn't going to test you? Wow. And he tests his dearest servants the most. So I turned that around. It took me a long time. It takes a long time, and it takes a lot of deep digging, let's see if to be able to say what I'm going to tell you that now, which is to feel honored that he's actually picking you to go through trials.
Wow.
Wow. And instead of getting mad, you're like happy that you're under his light. It takes a lot to get to this point. People don't understand it unless they understand it because they've been through it, So today, alhamdulillah, I am untouchable. Right. You can't mess with me. Right. Yeah. I got nothing to lose but his light.
And what I'm hearing in terms of the question that keeps coming to mind is, did you seek alternative therapies? Did you do it differently? One of the things you're telling me is that you got deeper in your spirituality, you got deeper
So
in
the
your
importance
relationship.
of having good layout around you, family and friends, it's that.
Mm.
Okay, I have amazing sisters, beautiful souls around me. I call them my flowers. So when I fell, they were holding my hand and they're like, no, you got this. You are a woman of faith. You know, you're going to come through it. They didn't let me fall back. And that support is everything you need in life. I'm blessed. I'm honored. I'm lucky, whatever you name it, to be able to have those souls around me. Because tell me who your friends are, and I'll tell you who you are. Right, like that saying that
Oh, I
goes.
love that. Right.
And my friends are beautiful flowers. May Allah reward them immensely for being there for me when I was going through all that, and if they had been like souls that were misguided, they were like, you know what, I got a few things for you to get your mind off this shit,
Right. Right.
Or just jump off the bridge and that will be okay.
Right. Right.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. So then you come back to life. I fought it. I did seek rheumatologist help. I went to what is it? Integrated medicinal doctor out in Long Island,
Okay.
who was super duper expensive.
Right.
And I did oxygen therapy. Oxygen therapy, which is very expensive. Insurance doesn't pay for it.
Right.
So I depleted all my, my savings. Right. But then he also taught me, you got to take care of your health, because the price that you, like, people like, I don't want to go to the gym, or I don't want to eat well. You end up paying back if you get sick.
Right.
Right. So do take care of your health, honor your body. Right.
Well, a couple of things are coming up too for me. One is that, one of the things I always, as someone who deals with, herbal medicine and making medicine and foraging, etc. One of the things I always tell people is there's times when I've been sick and I've gone through my entire repository of all the medicines I've made, the herbs I have, ancient Ayurvedic formulas, and nothing's worked. And then I went home to just be with my mom. And that was it. That cured me. Like, just her love, her unconditional love cured me. And that's one of the lessons I'm hearing from you in terms of, your battle with cancer and surviving it, is just being around love.
God, you have to understand that. What are you worshiping? Who are you worshiping? Who are you slave to? There's medicine, right? You take medicine. But you can't say, like, well, I'm going to take this medicine to feel better. You got to take this medicine. Take the medicine, right? You got to believe in Islam, we cannot not take medicine, right? But you got to believe that your cure is with Allah ultimately. Taking the medicine could help you. Not taking the medicine can help you, because the cure is with Him.
Right.
He is there. So who are you a slave to? I'm a slave to Allah. So I'm going to take the medicine because I don't want Him to judge me and say, well, you were in a privileged situation where you could get access to medicine, but you decided not to, and now you're dying because of your actions. And because of your actions, everyone around you is suffering. You're gonna leave your children behind. You're gonna leave your parents scrambling what to do with your kids. So your actions, you have to think about your actions, because it's not just about you. You can't be selfish. You can't be doing this YOLO lifestyle. It doesn't work. Do you? No, it doesn't work like do you shit. Sorry. Right. You can't just do you. No, it doesn't work. Sorry, it doesn't work. Right. Do you means you're one selfish, I can't curse, one selfish motherfucker, because you can't just do you.
Right. Well, I mean, I completely, so much of the path of being a medicine man for me has been about community and like I love that Zulu term, which is Ubuntu. I am because we are, and so
it's a
just
tribe.
yeah,
Yeah.
thinking beyond the individualism. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's such a powerful story, and there's just so many jewels that you've shared, and one of the biggest ones I'm going to be taking with me is to not dream and to not take action on your dream is wasting your ancestry. Oh my goodness.
That's happened at corner. I wasn't even talking to people like you.
Huh. Wow.
It's like it goes unscripted and it just flows.
Yeah, that's
Right.
it. Well, it's in that poetic tradition of the Arabian Peninsula, and like just like in the tradition of prophets and prophecies is like just kind of unscripted, like poetry that
Yeah.
comes through unscripted.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and it's a blessing indeed.
Yeah, and you're beautiful, and it's such an honor to like finally
I
connect with you.
appreciate you. I'm so happy you're doing what you love.
Thank you, and I'm
That
so
brings
happy
so
you're
much
doing what
joy.
you love.
Yeah.